unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning means another person who also learned from Dronacharya. He did not learn directly from Guru, and he learned indirectly. That is comes under unsupervised learning. Basically speaking, the data points, if you know the outcome along with the features, I will call it as supervisor learning. If you look at the simple example, right side, you have four maybe ducks, hares, and other things. Now, if I know this figure, along with that figure, I am also saying that it is a duck. That means I'm showing both the data along with the outcome. If anyone knows about a second figure, this is a duck figure. Along with this figure, I am also saying it is a duck. That means it is a meaning of supervisor learning. For example, these two symbols, I'm giving that not a duck. My model, for example, if I give any unknown figure, my machine learning model will tell me that what kind of figure it is. My machine learning will tell that it is a duck. In unsupervised learning, we will give the figures, but we don't give the outcomes. But we don't know the outcome. That is unsupervised learning. Here, we are going to find out the distance from one object to another object. Always the distances will be represented in between 0 to 1. If the distance between two objects is 0, we will group them in one cluster or in one group. Later, that group will be named that as clustering. In this example, three figures, all the three figures gone to one cluster, and this maybe hare, a tortoise came into another cluster. This is called as unsupervised learning. I don't want to take much time. Just I will spend 2 minutes on this framework about supervised learning workflow, where we have the data along with outcomes. Labels are nothing but outcomes. By using feature extraction, we are going to extract the important features for understanding what kind of the attributes they are. Then I will apply the machine learning model. The same thing I'll apply for unknown things also. Maybe I'll try to discuss the same workflow with live project. My entire case study revolves around these following steps. Steps in machine learning. First one is we have to understand, identify the problem, what we are doing. Once the problem has been identified, for identification of the problem, we have to study so many research articles and journals. Once after reading some journals and articles, we can come to one conclusion that at one point, one pinpoint, we can understand what is the problem. Once you understand the problem, then you have to think for what kind of the data that are needed for doing that problem. That is, process can be called data collection. Data collection can be done in n number of ways. It can be from internet, or it can be from various sources. It can be from CSV files. It can be from anywhere. If the data is not available, as a researcher, you have to generate your own data. Once you have your data, then whatever data you are going to collect from the various resources, the data may consisting of noise or other things. You have to pre-process it. That means you have to clean it to get the processed information. To get this processed information, right side, I have given several steps. Maybe data imputation, data integration, encoding, outlier detection, transformation, dimensionality reduction, feature engineering. All these are various steps we are going to apply in data pre-processing. Then we are going to study about each and every attribute or each and every feature. This is known as EDA, exploratory data analysis. Once here, we are going to study two things, univariate analysis and multivariate analysis. We are going to study each and every attribute. It is known as univariate analysis. If we are going to study the attributes with two or more we will call it as bivariant or multivariant analysis. I'm going to discuss all these things through live example. Then we will go for feature selection. Out of maybe you may have 100 features or 1000 features. Out of 100 features, all 100 features may not participate in the model building. Here we are going to select the features which are very important for our model. This process is known as feature selection. I will discuss around 6 to 8 feature selection mechanisms. Then I'm going to build some 8 to 10 model building. Then once after my model has been ready, I will not release it to the outside world. I will try to evaluate whether my model is correct or not by using some metrics. Then once my model has passed all the metrics, then I will try to analyze the results. This is my last slide. Directly I'm going to shift to a real-time case study 1. If you have any doubts, you can ping me onto the FTP group. I will resolve the doubts. Please, you must have pen and paper with you now to understand it. Ramesh Garu, screen is okay?
Okay,
is
sir.
it visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Shall I increase the font?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Now the case study which I'm going to take is a diabetes application. Mostly it is I will go in and out about this case study from layman point of view. Maybe you are a newcomer to the machine learning or to a data science. You will definitely understand my case study. I have prepared the case study in such a way. Okay. Diabetes is a disease which occurs when blood glucose levels becomes high.
Sorry to interrupt, sir.
Please.
Sir, not visible, sir, case study. Please
Not
share your case study. Sir, actually PPT, sir, visible, sir.
PPT, is it visible?
No, sir.
Yeah, please give me 1 minute. Please give me 1 minute. Now, is it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Please, every participant, please keep pen and paper with you. Whenever you have any doubt in any line, you please ping me. I will answer each and every question. Okay. Diabetes is a disease which occurs when blood glucose levels become high, which ultimately leads to health problems such as heart diseases and kidney diseases. Kidney disease is my second case study. Diabetes is caused mainly due to consumption of highly processed food and bad consumption of habits. Maybe because of COVID period, we may not be diabetic because we may not taking food at outside in these since 2 months. According to WHO, the number of people with diabetes has been increasing over years. This is little bit about what I'm going to discuss about the case study, about diabetes case study. Now, my case study consisting of, before going to case study, I will try to discuss about 2 to 3 important terminologies which I'm going to use. In databases, you will call them as attributes. Like for example, employee number, employee name, salary, designation. You will call them as attributes in databases like Oracle or MySQL. Whereas in machine learning or in data science, we will call every attribute as features. Here, features has been classified into 2 parts: non-independent features and dependent features. Like in databases, how other attributes are dependent upon primary key. Here in machine learning, all independent features are dependent upon the dependent feature. In short, it is also called as target feature, also called as class variable. Okay. Now, diabetes dataset consisting of 9 features. As a database person, you may call it as 9 attributes. Now, totally the 8 attributes what I have highlighted are called as independent attributes. All these independent attributes are dependent upon the target attribute called as outcome. Here, outcome has 2 class labels, 0 and 1. 0 means non-diabetic, 1 means diabetic. Kindly remember this point. Based on these features, we are going to predict that I'm going to take unknown tuple, and my machine learning will tell that whether that tuple belongs to a diabetic patient or non-diabetic patient. Now, I have around 770 records with me. Maybe in databases, you will call them as records, and I will also call them as rows. Like there are some medical patients records. What my classifier will tell is whether they are diabetic or non-diabetic. My machine learning will tell that whether they are non-diabetic or diabetic. Let me get into one by one. First, we have to load the data. My data is available in the form of a comma separated value. It is a form of Excel sheet. Simply by using a simple command called as read underscore CSV, I can read any data into my database. Now, let me discuss about NumPy. NumPy is a library in Python which is used for data analysis and data management. Whatever you can do with insertion, updation, deletion, and selection in databases, everything we can do with a library called as NumPy. That means NumPy is a library which is useful for analyzing the data. So whatever the data I'm loading using read underscore CSV, that I'm storing in a variable called as my underscore data. In Python, this is called as dictionary. In NumPy, it has three kinds of databases. If your database consisting of single dimensional, that is called as vector. So if your data consisting of two-dimensional, that number of rows and columns, most of the databases, they have the data in the form of rows and columns. So we have to call the database as data frame. Now onwards, whatever the data I will call, it is called as data frame. Every database in Python will be stored in the form of a dictionary, where dictionary is nothing but stores the data in the form of key and value pairs. Here, keys are nothing but feature names. Keys are nothing but feature names, and values are nothing but values of the data sets. Let me, even though if you are novice for Python, my next 5 minutes discussion will give you in-depth discussion about it. If everyone is okay for this data exploration, then now entire my data is with me with the name of my underscore data. Now onwards, I will play with data frames with this variable called as my underscore data. Now there is a simple attribute called as shape. Shape will give me how many number of rows are there in the database and how many number of features are there. That means it is showing that total I have 768 features, rows of the data in my diabetes.csv file, and it has 9 features. Out of 9 features, 8 features are independent features. They are dependent upon the target variable outcome. Okay. Totally, we are going to deal with 768, but in live databases, we have to deal with thousands and lakhs of records. Remember carefully, before going to the machine learning, first you have to study the data. If you want to study the data, then it has another property called as D types. You should understand what are the data types of each and every feature. Just give me 1 minute. I'm sorry, it got struck. Yeah, give me 1 more minute, please. Yeah, please. Sorry for the disturbance. One important point you must remember is most of the machine learning algorithms or most of the machine libraries, they support only numerical attributes. Before going to process with machine learning, you have to study D types will tell us what kind of data types each and every feature consisting of. Totally, we have 9 features known as pregnancies, glucose, blood pressure. All the features are related to integers and floats. That means machine learning library supports only numerical vectors. It may be in integer, it may be in float. Here, now, if they are of string type or object type, we have to convert it into numerical types. Before going to do any project in machine learning, you have to convert it and you have to convert everything to numerical type. Now, another feature called as columns. If I want to know what are the features I'm discussing with it, my features consisting of pregnancies, glucose, blood pressure, skin thickness, insulin, and so on. Now, head is a function which will tell me first 5 records of my data set. These are my first 5 records. There is one more function, tail. Tail will give me last 5 records. If I give me 100 records, it prints 100 records for me. Now, very, very important job is if I want to finding whether your data set consisting of missing values or not. Now, there is a function isNull.sum by pandas. Now, let's just look at here. Now, all my 9 features not null. That means they don't have any blanks in my database. If any of my cell within the data set consisting of blanks, it will show me here. You have to be careful while dealing with missing value. If there is any missing value, it will be shown as NaN, not a number. Machine learning libraries doesn't deal with NaNs. So if you have any NaNs, then you have to go for a imputation technique. Then it had to be, now please note down, imputation can be done in 2 ways. If you are imputing with numerical data, you have to use mean, median, or standard deviation. Whereas if you are dealing with categorical data, you have to impute with mode. These mean, mode, standard deviation are statistical functions that are supported by NumPy. Here, all my data sets belongs to numerical, so I don't need any kind of imputation mechanism in this. So slowly I'm moving. Now there is one more function called as information. It will tell me whether my data set consisting of any null values here. Now look at here, all my 9 features consisting of 768. That means there are no blanks in my database. Now what we are doing, it is descriptive statistics. That means we are describing about the data. As a data scientist or as a machine learning engineer, you have to study each and every feature. Now, one more function known as describe. Describe function will show about 5 features. Let me go to PPT for 2 minutes. If you want to describe about any attribute, here you are showing about 5 attributes. What was the minimum value for that column? What was the maximum column? How much data lies at 25% of the data? It will be represented as Q1. How much data represented with 50% quartile? That is called as Q2, also represented as median. And how much data which is there at 75% quartile? This is also called as box plot. This plot will tell you what was the minimum value and what was the maximum value, and how much data lies at 25% quartile, how much data lies at 75% quartile, and how much data lies at 50% quartile. The describe function shows about it. The same thing can also be shown with the help of box plots. Now look at here, the describe function shows that what was the minimum value of that column and maximum value of the column, and standard deviation, and how many number of features are there, and what was the 25 percentile quartile of the data, what was the 50% quartile, and what was the 75% quartile. If you know about this describe function, it will tell you in and about the data. Now, slowly we will shift our focus from basic functionalities of the database to univariate analysis. Now, I told you that outcome is my class label because I wanted to study whether my data set consisting of non-diabetes or diabetes. That means my class label totally out of 768 records. Look at here, I am high using group by function. My target variable is outcome dot size. Now, out of 768 records, 500 records belongs to non-diabetic. Only 268 records belongs to diabetes. That means most of the chances shows that non-diabetes. Here, as a data, while collecting the data, you must be very careful. I am going to use two terminology, balanced data and unbalanced data. Here, whatever the records that are showing, this is unbalanced data. That means most of the biases will be given for non-diabetes. So you have to convert this data into balanced data set. For that, Python has some libraries. I wanted to show you the same thing in the form of graphical user interface by using a library called as Seaborn. Python supports two kinds of libraries for visualization. One is Matplotlib, another one is Seaborn. Matplotlib, if you consider it as a C language, Seaborn you can consider it as C++. That means addition of Matplotlib. We are going to use Matplotlib and Seaborn for visualization mechanisms. The same outcome 500 and 268 they are visible as totally. Look at here. Non-diabetes is around 500 and 268 are diabetes patients. That means first we have studied the target feature. There are totally 768 records. Out of 768 records, non-diabetes patients are 500 records we are taking, and diabetes patient records we are taking as 268. You can also get the percentage. I have not given the logic. Now we will study each and every feature one by one. We have glucose levels. Even after fasting, glucose levels could not be zero, but out of 768 records, 5 records are showing as a 0. Look at here, what I'm asking, my data dot glucose equal to 0, shape by 0. Now what I'm asking, only out of 768 records, 5 records are showing that they are zeros. But as a data analyst, your data may not contain 0 values. Here, look at here, what I have divided that based on outcome. Out of 5 records, 3 records belongs to 0 and 2 records belongs to diabetic. First, initially we are studying, later we will take a decision whether we will remove it or whether we will keep it. Next one is blood pressure. By observing the data, we can see that there are 0 values for blood pressure, but in real-time situations, as a living person, no patient, no person cannot have blood pressure 0. Now, out of 768 records, 35 records are having blood pressure 0. We have to take some action. Out of 35, 19 records belongs to non-diabetic and 16 records belongs to diabetic. Next one is skin thickness. Totally 220 out of 768 records, 227 records are having skin thickness 0. We will take a decision. Out of 227, 139 records are non-diabetic and 88 records are diabetic. Next one is BMI, body mass index. Only 11 records are belongs to zeros. We will take some decision. Next one is like this. You can study each and every feature. Insulin, out of 768, 238 records are non-diabetic and 138 records are diabetic. Totally 374 records with insulin levels zeros. Then we will take a decision whether what to do. We have to handle this situation. Here what I have handled is whatever the records that are having blood pressure 0 with BMI 0, glucose 0. Now I'm writing a small logic. If my database consisting of blood pressures not equal to 0 and BMI not equal to 0 and glucose not equal to 0, I'm reading those records and I'm placing in a new my database. That means out of 768 records, I have removed the records which are having blood pressures, BMI and glucose. Now 768 records are moved to 724. That means some of the things which we have removed it. That means most of the records with the BMI and insulins, they are most of the records with 374 and 227. I have removed most of the records with 3 columns. Next very important pre-processing mechanism is transformation or normalization. Whatever the data we have in the database, they may not be in the normalized format. If we conduct an examination for our BTech students, we are going to scale the result in the form of 0 to 10. 10 means excellent. He is very good at subject. 9 is very good. Like this, we are going to scale them like that. The data normalization techniques will convert your data from different formats to one normal format. Here we are going to use min-max normalization or Z-score normalization. These normalization techniques will transform your data from any format to either 0 to 1 or -1 to 1 or 1 to 10 onto a specific scale. One of my poll question will tell that normalization will affect the accuracy or not. Yes, if you don't do normalization, directly drastically reduces the accuracy of a machine learning model. Here what I have done it is, normalization can be done only for independent features, not for target features. So 0 to 8 features I have copied to X. Now X is nothing but input. In machine learning, capital X will be represented with independent features. Target features will be represented with Y. Now here I am applying a normalization technique called as min-max scalar. The formula for min-max scalar is X minus X max by X max minus X min. That means if you apply this formula for all the columns of your database, they will be converted to 0 to 1. Look at here. Now all the data lies in between 0 to 1. This is one kind of transformation technique. Another transformation technique I also used. Here I used a standard scalar. In statistics, we have one terminology called as Z-score index, where the formula is X minus mu by sigma, where X is a column, mu is mean, sigma is standard deviation, which transfers the data in between -1 to 1. Here, either you do min-max or you do standardization. Just for understanding purpose, I have discussed both of them in my case study. Once after completion of my imputation as well as normalization techniques, slowly I have to move for EDA, stands for exploratory data analysis, which is used to analyze the data and whether can I take the attributes for my model building or not. We will discuss. EDA is of 2 steps, univariate analysis and bivariate analysis. First, let me study about univariate analysis using histogram technique. Look at here. I'm using a library called as matplotlib. Simply, I call a function called histogram. Now, look at here, all my 9 features, how they are looking at. Let me reduce the font. Look at here, age, BMI, blood pressure, diabetes prediction function, glucose levels, insulins. Remember carefully, if your data is in this format, the histogram shows that whether your data is in the skewed format, either or in the Gaussian distribution or in the exponential distribution. Most of the machine learning algorithms suggests that your data must be in the form of Gaussian distributions, maybe in the form of bell curve. If you observe carefully, some features are having Gaussian distribution. Maybe you must have in the form of bell curve. Let me move to slide for 1 minute to discuss about 2 minutes about Gaussian distribution. Just observe this diagram carefully. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Okay,
please.
continue, sir, please.
You remember carefully, most of the machine learning library supports that your data must be in this position. It is called as bell curve, or also called as Gaussian distribution. That is, Z is equal to X minus mu by sigma. Okay. That means your data must be in between -3 sigma to +3 sigma. If your data is lies below the -3 sigma, above the +3 sigma, that is called as outliers. That means also called as noise. You should reduce the noise. That means 68% of the data lies in between -1 sigma to +1 sigma. And 95% of the data has to lie in between -2 sigma to +2 sigma. Then 99% of the data has to lie between -3 sigma to +3 sigma. Now, once again, I'm shifting to my case study. Now, observe carefully. Some of the features they are giving Gaussian distribution. If the data is not in Gaussian distribution, you have to convert it. You have to normalize it or transform it, rescale it to get into the. Now, mathematically speaking, you can have so many techniques to convert. You can apply root square, logarithm, cube root, 1 by x. There are several techniques. There are either by using any technique, you can convert your data into Gaussian distribution. By observing carefully, more A's diabetes predictive function and insulin, they are in the exponential, and BMI blood pressure, they are in the Gaussian distribution. Just look at here, glucose, it is in Gaussian distribution. This is left skew, A's is in left skew, blood pressure is in Gaussian distribution. If your data represents Gaussian distribution, it is good. You can proceed without having any problem. Another way of approaching is univariate analysis by using density plots. Just observe it carefully. Now, this glucose is having Gaussian distribution. Here, skin thickness, it is not in Gaussian distribution. You have to convert it. Now, these are the density plots. Simply, I called a plot function. That's it. I have never written any logic. Simply, I am using matplotlib function. Matplotlib.hist will give me all the histograms of all the features. 12, 10 is nothing but it is not a logic. It is just number of rows and columns to display the image. And the density plot has given me just simply I call a function called plot function from matplotlib. Now it has given me all the features. Next one is box plots. Just look at here. The box plot has given me, just now we have seen it, a number of pregnancies. The zeros are called as outliers. We have to remove it. Now, most of the outliers are with insulin and BMI and with the diabetes predictive function. We have to remove it. With age also has some outliers. Some features are not having outliers. Just look at here. Glucose function doesn't have any outlier. Its minimum value is 50, maximum value is 200, and its median is around lies between 100 and 125. As a data scientist or as a machine learning expert, you have to remove the outliers. Otherwise, it affects the accuracy of the machine learning applications. Whatever the things which you have seen till now, they are either histogram or density plot or box plots. They will discuss us about univariate analysis. We have studied every feature individually. Next one is we are having correlation mechanism, correlation matrix, also called as Pearson correlation matrix. It will tell us the relationship between one or more attributes. Till now, histogram, density plot, and box plots, they will tell you about univariate analysis. They studies about only one feature at a time. Whereas if you want to study more than one feature at a time, you have to go for correlation mechanism. By using Pearson correlation mechanism, you have to study it. If two or more features, they are very much related, its value will reach, the correlation matrix ranges from -1 to 1. 1 means they are positively related. 0 means the features are neutral. -1 means the features are weakly related. Weakly related means they will go opposite directions. For that, there is a simple function called as correlation. Okay. Now, this can be represented with the help of diagrammatic. This is called as heat map. Just look at here. Now, don't look at here. Look at the scale. The scales lies between -1 to 1. -1 means weekly correlation, 1 means positive correlation. Look at the diagrams. Number of pregnancies, glucose, all these numbers are in between -1 to 1. Let me discuss more about with the help of other mechanisms. I'm showing heat map is one such kind of mechanism to observe whether two or more features are having relationship or not. Another way of finding the relationship between the mechanism is scatter plots. Just look at here carefully. Scatter plots also will tell us whether the two features or three features are having relationship or not. If you look at the diagonal elements, all the diagonal elements will tell me about the target features. Now, if you observe carefully, we will discuss about one feature, maybe number of pregnancies. Here it has two features. X-axis is on number of pregnancies and y-axis is on glucose. If it goes on the positive direction, let me go to slide for 1 minute and I'll come back to the discussion. Just give me 1 minute to share that screen. This is somewhat about correlation. If two features are positively related, it goes to the positive direction. If the arrow goes to the upward, it is called as positive direction. Look at here, this gamma value is 0.4. If it is moving to 1.0, it is too positive. Now, if the two features are related neutral, that shows the line like this in a horizontal way. If two or more features are having weakly related, now the arrow shows to the down. Just look at here, it is -0.4. If it is -0.0, it is purely negatively correlated. Now, I'm going to show this kind of relationship in a scatter plot. Let me go back to the case study. Now you can understand carefully. If you observe this carefully, my x-axis is I have a feature called as glucose, and y-axis I have number of pregnancies. Somewhat it is moving in positive direction only. I don't know what kind of, either it may have 0.2 correlation or 0.4 or 0.6. Some features are having negative correlation. Negative correlation means they are weakly. If one feature increases, other feature decreases. Some features may have neutral. That means if both, now one feature doesn't depend upon other features. Scatter plot and correlations will tell us whether two or more features are related or not. Now, very, very important technique what we are going to discuss is feature selection. Out of 9 features, what features are very important for our machine model building or machine learning application? Now, I will take you to around 6 to 8 feature selection mechanisms. Let's just look at here. sklearn supports, if we want to implement this supervisor learning, we are going to use a library, machine learning library known as scikit-learn. So I'm importing that scikit-learn library, and there is one function called as select best features. K means how many out of 9 features. If I ask the machine, what are the best 5 features? What are the best 4 features? I don't know what is the best K. It is an intuitive mechanism. So initially I have taken it as 4. I will check whether I am getting the very good accuracy or not. Otherwise, I will take it 5, 6, 7. It is intuitive. It is an empirical mechanism. Now, if I apply that select K best, now look at here internally. Let me discuss one important point. As per statistical terminology, if you want to find out whether the two attributes are related or not, if they are numerical attributes, you have to use correlation. If they are categorical attributes, you have to use chi-square mechanism. It is one of the important entry question. If you are dealing with numerical attributes, you have to use correlation feature mechanism. Whether if you are using categorical attributes, you should go for chi-square. Maybe select k-best is using taking one argument called as chi-square mechanism for finding out the relationship between the features. Now it has given the features in the form of this. Look at here. We have 9 features. Now just look at here. All the how the features are related with each other. Now let me take you to now look at here. Now my machine has given me the best features underscore transformation out of 9 features. Look at here. Pregnancy's value is 111, glucose is 1411, blood pressure value is 17, and skin thickness 53, and insulin level 2175. That means insulin is very important feature for finding out whether it is diabetic or not. That means this feature mostly depended upon the target feature. Another important feature is glucose level, and third important feature is BMI. Fourth important feature is number of pregnancies. Based on that, out of 9 features, you can consider what are the very important features that are very heavily dependent upon the target feature. Here we found that insulin, glucose, they are very highly dependent upon the target features. While model building, you can consider these two as the highly features. This is one such kind of mechanism by using select k-best. sklearn also supports another mechanisms known as select k percentile. That means by using percentile, you can observe the best features. Another kind of mechanism which is supported by sklearn is generic univariant selection. Now sklearn supports these 3 mechanisms to find out whether your features are best or not. Out of 9 features, what are the best features? While doing model building, you must consider insulin and glucose, number of pregnancies, as well as BMI as best features for model building. Now the time is around 11:15. Mr. Ramesh, could you please go for polling? Then I will continue the session after polling.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. So I request all participants to answer the poll question. The poll question has 4 questions. So I request all participants take poll question. Participants can have break for 5 minutes. And I request all participants please assemble at 11:25 a.m.
In between, if you have any doubts, you can raise. In this 5 minutes time, we will discuss about if any participants have any doubts, you can raise it in chat box. Ramesh garu, kindly enable chat box.
Okay, sir.
If you have any queries or related to polls or related to my discussion.
So I request participants please raise your hand if you have any question.
No one is having any questions?
No, sir.
Yeah, please. Shall I treat it as whether they got understood or not?
Sir, we have one question from our participant, sir. Dr.
Yes, sir.
Shyam Sundar Reddy.
Yeah, sir,
Sir, I
till now we
request
have.
Shyam.
Yes, please, please. He asked the question which I have not discussed it, sir. About machine learning
Yes, sir.
algorithms, we have not discussed, sir. It will be at 11:45 discussion, okay? You can ask the questions till now, whatever we have discussed it.
Okay, sir.
Your question will come after at 11:50 p.m., 11:50 a.m.
Okay, sir.
I will give my answer for your question, sir, with my case study.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, shall we summarize, sir?
Sir, wait, sir. Wait. One more 5 minutes, sir. 11:25. All are assembled, sir. Please, sir.
Sir Ganapati sir, are you there?
No, madam.
There's two participants, Sir Ganapati sir.
Madam, Chepan, madam, please.
Sir, two participants have raised their hands.
Please, madam.
Just I'll unmute them. Shyam Sundar Reddy sir, you can ask question. You can unmute yourself and you can ask questions, sir.
Hello.
Sir, please.
Yes, sir. My question is there in the chat box, sir. Another question.
I have 3 questions, sir. What are them? Shall we go for first one? Sir, does scaling of data always increases the efficiency?
Yes,
Is it
yes.
a question? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. At 100% it increases the accuracy. But I don't know what percentage it increase. It may increase 0.1. It can be treated as very good accuracy in machine learning, sir. Definitely,
Okay,
we should go for
scaling.
standardization or normalization or rescaling, because whatever the data you are collecting that comes with noise, okay, and it's spread across several locations, maybe in 0, 100, 1000, 10 lakhs. If you get it in a proper scaling format, either 0 to 1 or 0 to -1, -1 to 1, then which increases the efficiency of the accuracy of the algorithm, sir.
Okay. But for normalization and standardization, the efficiency will be the same or different?
That depends, sir. That depends upon the model to model. If you are using Z-score, it uses values from 0 to 1. If you are using min-max, it values from -1 to 1. But there are some 7 to 10 techniques are there. But please let me answer. Please. There are last month I have published one paper on what was the effect of normalization in the accuracy of machine learning classifiers. There I have studied about 10 to 12 classifiers, and most of the classifiers shows that they increased the accuracy of the classification model building by applying standardization. But what
Oh,
percentage?
okay.
It depends upon the data set to data set and model to model.
Okay, but how to choose the scaling mechanism? I mean, is normalization or standardization or
It is an
binarization?
empirical, sir.
How
It
to
is an
select the
empirical. There are some 10 to 12. There are some 10 to 12 not standardization techniques are there. It is an empirical. You have to study, and depending upon the data set, the decision will be given by not by the data scientist, sir. It will be given by a statistical person in that company.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Any other question?
No, no.
Thank you very much. Yes, it is very simple, sir. How can we find the data is not in Gaussian distribution? Just now I have shown out of 9 features, 3 to 4 features are having the data will be showing in the form of Gaussian distribution. Some features are showing in the form of left skewness. Some features are showing in the form of exponential data. Okay. Now once again I'll show. For example, you have to go for bell curve of the data, sir. If you go for histogram or density plots, if they are in the form of bell curve, then it shows that the data is good, sir. Okay. How can we find the data is not in Gaussian distribution? Sometimes, do you know about skewness, sir? Gaussian, the basic formula for Gaussian distribution is where you will have mean, mode, median at center. If you have mean, mode, median at center, and if you have the data is in the form of a bell curve, that itself shows that your data is good. Okay. And if your data is true good, 99.7% of the data lies in between -3 sigma to +3 sigma. That itself shows that your data is good. If your data is not lies in between -3 sigma to +3 sigma, that means the data has some noise in it. Okay. Then by using some outlier techniques, we have to remove it, sir. Okay. Any other questions?
No, sir. Sir, now I request please discuss about poll question answers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And continue the session.
Yeah. My first question is, does pre-processing techniques affects the accuracy of a predictive model? As most of 93% of the people has responded correctly. Yes, we need, let me talk about 30 seconds for this question. Okay. Out of, if you take it SDLC, software development lifecycle, 60% is goes for analysis and modeling. Like 10% goes for coding and 13% for testing. Like this, in data science applications or machine learning application, 60 to 70% of the time we will spend only for pre-processing of the data as well as EDA process, and we'll spend only around 25 to 35% only for model building. Okay. As for my first question, most pre-processing techniques are very needed for predictive models to increase the accuracy, as 93% given correct answer. And second question is, does feature selection mechanisms decrease the complexity and model accuracy? Tricky question, sir. It consisting of 2 points. If more the number of features, the complexity will increase, and the complexity leads to overfitting of the data. And my second point is, and if you go for right selection of features, then it increases the model accuracy. And 59% of the people has given correct answer, and 41% of the people has given wrong answer. Does EDA is necessary as a step in understanding the features? Very much necessary. EDA tells that how each and every feature depended upon target variable. Like for example, if you have three features, 2 are independent and third one is dependent. How first feature are depended upon the target feature, and how second feature depended upon the target feature, how combination of 1 and 2 are depended upon the target feature. Univariant analysis and bivariant analysis, they will tell us how the independent features are related with target feature. EDA is also very much necessary, and 84% people are given correct answer. And do we need to evaluate machine learning accuracies using various metrics? 100%, sir, because what you do any kind of any model building, it may give you 30%, 40%, 50%. But how to check whether the model has given correct prediction or not? Any machine learning, whatever you are using, it can be KNN, it can be SVM, it can be random forest, it can be bagging. Every machine learning model will give you a result. It can be 30%, 40%, 50%. But how to check whether the accuracies which are given by the models or not? It can be done by using metrics. For example, if you take supervised learn mechanism, there you have one such kind of thing, confusion matrix. Confusion matrix, if you take right diagonal, if you have right diagonal elements are more compared with left diagonal, that means it is good. Second one is precision, recall, F measure, specificity, ROC, AUC curves. They will tell us whether your machine learning results correct or not. Yes, most of the answers, 93% of the answers are correct. Now, slowly, let me go to my topic. Yeah, we are in the discussion of feature selection. Is it visible for everyone? Mr. Ramesh Garu, could you please tell me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Visible, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Another kind of mechanism is feature selections are two steps, sir. It is a forward selection. First one is forward selection. Second one is backward selection. In forward selection, what we will do is in each and it will be iterative process. First, we will select one feature. Second, we will add second feature, third feature. In each and every iteration, we are going to add one feature. And RFE belongs to backward selection. It is a first we will take all the features at one place, and iterative process we are going to eliminate one feature at a time. Now, if you observe it carefully, now RFE with the help of logistic regression, what it has given is the result is, if you observe the result, the features that are important, they have shown in the form of a true. The features that are unimportant, they have shown in the form of a false. If you observe carefully, now I have given a ranking. Wherever I have trues, I have given 1, 1, 1. Wherever I have given false, I have ranked them as 2, 3, 4, 5. Just observe carefully, just read it. Yeah, just give me 1 minute. Yeah, if you observe carefully, rank 1 has been given for BMI, body mass index, as well as diabetes predictive function and the number of pregnancies. That means these three features are high features. That means they are mostly dependent upon the target feature. This is one kind of feature selection mechanism, and another kind of by using extra tree classifier. This classifier, what it is giving is most of the term, maybe 0.07 for insulin, and BMI has got around 0.15. Pedigree function has got around 0.15. That means whatever the feature selections which you are using, all the feature selection mechanisms, they may not give you the same features, but go for 2 to 3 different kind of feature selection and select common features which are given by the models. Now, slowly I will shift my focus from feature selection to data sets. Now, this is the data. That means normally, if you are going to go for model building, we will divide the data into training data set as well as test data set. Ideally speaking, training we will take 70% of the data we will take for training, and 30% of the data we will go for testing. For 70 and 30, it is an ideal case. It depends upon the domain to domain, it will get changed. For example, if you are taking scientific or medical kind of applications, there we will take 90% of the data we will take for training the model, and 10% of the data we will go for testing the data set. There is no hard rule that we have to take 70, 30. It is an ideal. Now, my next step is model building. There is a function supported by sklearn known as train underscore test underscore split. Now, here I have around 9 features. I have to copy features into X. Just look at here, my data underscore feature names, all these 9 features, except outcome. All features I have copied to X, and outcome feature I have copied to Y. Now I have got separated that X has been input and Y has been output, also called as target feature. Now I have divided my data using a function known as train underscore test underscore split. X is nothing but input and Y is nothing but output. Here whatever I have discussed here, the same thing I have shown with the function. Train underscore test underscore split, which is function from sklearn.model underscore selection. We have to import this package if we want to use this function. Then now slowly I will shift my focus from feature importance. In my last webinar, Karuna and Ramesh has asked some questions. What features are best? What algorithms can we use? Can I use decision tree? Can I use random forest? Can I use bagging, boosting? No, for that. Now, this is my discussion. Now, I'm taking, I think yesterday, Surbhi madam has given all the machine learning algorithms. Now, I'm not discussing theory part of them. Now, slowly I'm moving a real application of that decision tree classifier. If you want to use a model known as decision trees here, I have to import sklearn.tree. Then you have to create an object of the decision tree, and fit function is used for training the model. If you want to train the model, you have to pass 2 arguments. First one is x underscore train, and next one is y underscore. Let me discuss about 2 minutes about what is x underscore train and what is y underscore train by using some diagrammic notation. Can I use both? Here I don't actually. Let me discuss. Data is going to represent in the form of a rectangular box. Just now we have divided the data into training and testing part. Here like this, we have divided the data into training and testing. Okay. From the training and testing, train underscore test underscore split function will divide the data into 4 parts. One is this training and testing has to be divided into 70% will data will go for training and 30% of the data will go for testing. So input features can be called as X, target features can be called as Y. Now just look at here, x underscore train, x underscore test. That means this rectangular box is going to divide into, otherwise let me take a paintbrush and let me discuss it. Let me take a paintbrush. Screen is sharing, sir.
Not visual, sir.
One thing,
Please
sir.
share, sir.
Yes, please. One thing. 1 minute. Let me take paintbrush. Yeah. For example, if you take this as rectangular box, this is for it, please. This is your rectangular box. Initially, we have divided that data into training and testing. Now, this we will take it as training. Initially, this is called as features. Left, I will also call it as capital X. This data I will call it as Y or target. And we are going to divide the data into yes, 70% of the data has been given for 70% training, and this is totally is known as training. This totally is known as testing, and 30% of the data, 30% of the data I'm taking for testing. Understood? Now this will be referred as x underscore train. This will be referred as y_train. This box will be referred as x_test. This box will be referred as y_test. Once again, initially my rectangular box is called as data. The data will be divided into independent features are called as x and the target variable called as y. Okay. Then I have divided my 70% of the data I have given for training and 30% of the data I have given for testing. My function train_test_split function will divide my data into 4 parts. They are this part. This part is called as x_train. This part is known as y_train, and this part is known as testing. This part is known as y_test. Remember carefully, y_test is also known as ground truth data or actual data. This we will not give it to the machine. Now, if I want to train my machine, I will do my model with this area. I will give x_train and y_train to the machine using fit function. Now let me go back to my screen. Yeah. Now everyone got understood what is x_train and what is x_test, what is y_train and what is y. We have not divided it. This division has been done by a function known as train_test_split, x and y. Okay. Now look at here. Now in Robo movie, initially Rajinikanth has prepared the machine. That means he has prepared the machine for years. In machine learning algorithm, we are going to use fit function for training the machine by using 2 arguments, x_train and y_train. We will never use test data set for training the model. Kindly remember this point. Remember carefully, to train a machine, we are going to use 2 data elements. They are x_train as well as y_train. We never use x_test or y_test for training the machine. Now, once this function executes, then the machine will get trained. Now, tree.score. Now, score is a function which will give me the accuracy. Now, look at here, x_train and y_train here. Don't take this training data set. If you train the data set with the same, always it will give you 100% result. Now, test the data set with x_test. Look at here. Here I am testing my model. Now, my model name is tree.score x_test comma y_test. It will give me the accuracy of my model. Maybe those accuracies has to be multiplied with 100. That means it is giving 62.4. Slowly we'll try to increase the accuracies. Now, decision tree algorithm, slowly we can go for any number of levels. Maximum you can go for any level of depth. Now here, breadth and depth, it is in our hands. We can touch by using maximum depth. Here I have given it as 3. That means I have gone for 3 levels of decision trees. So it has increased the testing accuracy with earlier it got around 762. Now after increasing the maximum depth up to the 3 levels, now accuracy has been increased from 62 to 74%. Now let me show you the feature importance with a diagram. Now just look at here, out of 9 features, what feature is more important in model building? According to this diagram, glucose feature is giving higher importance compared with BMI and age and pregnancies. Insulin, skin thickness and blood pressure, they are not at all participating in the model. So we can remove them in the while going for model building. Just look at here, their values are giving 0, 0, 0, and 0.2 is for 0.6. They are giving for these 4 features. Highest value is given for glucose. Next, let me discuss other feature importance mechanisms. Using random forest classifier. If you use random forest classifier, the accuracy has been given as 73.5, and look at the feature importance. Even though the glucose is participating in the most of the model building, and other features are also participating using decision tree random forest classifier. Look at here, age is participating, and diabetes prediction function, BMI, insulin, and all other functions are also part. This is one such kind of feature importance. Let us look at with gradient boosting classifier, and their accuracies are giving 0.70, 0.72, and 0.729. Look at here, and their feature importance in machine model building. In all the model feature selection mechanism, glucose feature is participating in all the cases. Then yes, then BMI. Now I think one faculty has asked me what are the best feature selection algorithms. For that, I'm going to the next discussion. And by applying machine, we can allow, apart from machine learning classifiers, we can also apply deep learning classifiers known as MLP classifiers. Just look at here, it has given highest accuracy compared with 0.75 accuracy by using machine learning. Earlier, all machine learning classifiers has given 62, 64, 70, 72, but look at here, the deep learning classifier has given up to 70, 74. This it cannot be understood for you in the next level. Then slowly I'll go for model evaluation. Now model evaluation, this is the confusion matrix. Always, if your model accuracy is some, just now our algorithms has, some algorithm has given 64, some algorithm has given 72, some algorithm has given 76 also, but whether can we depend upon those results? If we want to depend upon those results, we should go for some sort of matrix like confusion matrix. Confusion, this is the confusion matrix. False positive, false negative, true positive rate, false negative. Now, if you observe carefully, 10 to 28, these are much higher than these two. This should be much higher than these two. That shows that your model is giving correctly. Apart from the confusion matrix, precision, recall, F measures, they may also give you about metrics, whether you can rely or not. Just look at here, they are giving the accuracies as 0.72, 0.72, 0.69. Now, you can also check whether your model is correctly working for or not by using unknown data sets. You can take an unknown tuple and give it, do the same kind of feature selection and go for prediction. And here it has given me array of 0. I have two arrays. Array of 0 is diabetic, non-diabetic. Array of 1 is diabetic. And whatever the tuple I have taken, the method it has given me as 0. That means the unknown tuple is giving that the tuple belongs to non-diabetic. Now let me discuss about, some faculty has given me what are the best classifiers. For that, here I have taken around 6 to 7 classifiers, and I'm comparing at a stretch. My algorithms are logistic regression, KNN, Naive Bayes, support vector classifier, random forest classifier, decision tree regression. And look at here, what are the algorithms they are giving best classification. Just observe carefully what algorithm is doing well. Here in this data set, maybe logistic regression got around 76% of classification, and RFC has given, random forest classifier has given 75, and Naive Bayes classifier has given. Now you can draw a small graph. Now, based on that, nowadays, most of the classifiers like SVM and bagging boosting classifiers, they are doing well, exceptionally well compared with other classifiers. If you go for deep learning, but it will take very long time to train the data sets, but as far as results are concerned, deep learning gives you better results compared with machine learning classifiers. Now, slowly we'll have a small drawback in the previous discussion. In the previous discussion, 70% of the data only you have considered for model building. That means remaining 30% you are not using for model. As far as testing is concerned, 30% of the data you are using for testing purpose, and remaining 70% you are not testing. That means 100% of the data you are not utilizing for model building. So a new kind of thing which is coming to the market is k-fold validation. Okay, now here this is the data. Here I have divided my data into 5 folds. Just look at here. Here 90% of the data in first iteration, 90% of the 80% of the data I am using for training, and 20% of the data I am using for model building. Here I will get one accuracy 1. I will let it be A1. In second iteration, remaining the data set from 60 to 80 I have given for testing data set, and 0 to 60 and 80 to 100 I am using for training data set. I will get one more accuracy, A2. Now I will do this process for K. If I take k-fold 5, I will do it for 5 times. If I use k4 for 10, that means I will do the same process for 10 times. Later I will go for mean of these all the accuracies. For example, if you do the accuracy for 1 time, it may give you unstable data. If you want to get the stable version of accuracies, always you should go for k-fold validation. This is the k-fold validation. It will give you the stable results. Now, if I, after applying the k-fold validation, what my result is 77.6. Earlier, all my results are, best results are 74, 72, 73. Now, here I applied a concept called as pipelining. Always pipelining here, let me discuss about what is pipelining. Instead of declaring each and every object separately, like imputation as a separate object, normalization as a separate object, dimensionality reduction as a separate object, and feature selection as a separate object, and the model building as a separate object. Now here what we will do is, we will combine all the steps into a single step, is known as pipelining. We will combine all the techniques into one stack, and we will execute at one stretch. This process is known as pipelining. Just observe carefully here. What I have done it is, I am PCA, it means dimensionality reduction. Second one is feature selection. I have combined into a single step, and I applied 2 algorithms. One is logistic regression. Then my previous logistic regression, if I apply, what is my accuracy is just 76.6. Now, after applying pipelining, my accuracy has been increased to 77%. One of my last discussion is, till now we have not saved our data. If you want to save your model data sets, you should go for Pickle or JobLib libraries. You can use either Pickle or JobLib. Okay. If you want, you can save your model. Here I have used, just look at here. Here I used a library known as JobLib. JobLib has 2 operations. One is dump, another one is load. Dump is used to save the model, and load is used to retrieve the model. Just here, look at here. First, initially, when the dump has to be used when that machine has been learned. And here, when I'm using my machine learning model building, initially I'm loading the model, and the SAV is my extension of my JobLib model. Pickle has another model extension called as PKL. Now, how we are going to save the state of the model, state of the database. In databases, we will call them as persistence. Whereas in machine learning, if you want to save your model state, we can use either joblib or pickle. Now here it has given the extension as 0.75. Now it is the time for questionnaire session. Now over to you, Ramesh Garu.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, we have a question from Kalpana Madam.
Yes, please.
Kalpana Madam, could you please unmute your audio and ask the question? Kalpana Madam. Okay, sir. One more question from Krishna Chaitanya, sir.
Please.
Sir,
KC Garu, please. Hello.
Casey, sir. Okay, sir. No problem. One more question from Chandrasekhar, sir. Sir, Chandrasekhar, sir.
Sir, how unmute me? Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
please.
Please, sir.
Ganapati Raju, sir, that was an excellent session. I enjoyed the whole session.
Thank you very much.
Sir, you told you'll explain a little bit about the feature selection later. You missed that
Yes,
point.
I have discussed a feature importance with the decision tree classifier, random forest classifier, and gradient boosting classifier. Totally, I have discussed around three ways of feature selection and 3 ways of feature importance. Apart from that, you can use generic univariate selection and select k percentile. Totally, you have seen around 8 functions, 8 mechanisms in feature selection, sir. You can use any of them in your model building.
Okay, sir, one more question.
Yeah, please.
Sir, there is a concept called training error and testing error to decide the overfitting.
Yes. I have not
Error.
discussed anything regarding type 1 error and type 2 error, sir. If I go, it will take minimum 15 minutes, sir, about confusion matrix. If I touch it, yesterday, Surabhi madam has taught about confusion matrix. So I have not taught it. If it will, 15 minutes, sir. False positive, true positive, negative. It itself, if I touch confusion matrix, itself will take 15 minutes.
Any questions? Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Sir. Okay. Thank you, sir, for clarifying our participants' questions. On behalf of GRIT Management and the Department of CSC, thank you, sir, for your nice presentation with case studies. Once again, thank you, sir, for accepting our sudden request and delivering the session.
Thank you very
A
much.
small announcement for the participants. Thank you, sir. A small announcement for the participants. I request all participants, please fill the feedback form using the link. The link is posted in the chat window and as well as WhatsApp group, FTP WhatsApp group. Feedback is mandatory for getting the certificate. It will be enabled only half an hour. Okay, I request all participants, please finish your feedback for today's session. It will be enabled only half an hour. Okay, and tomorrow we will not have any session, and the next session will be on Monday from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 a.m. I request all participants, please join for Monday session at 10 a.m. to avoid the network problems. Thank you, one and all. So once again, I am requesting all participants, please finish your feedback for today's session. It will be enabled only half an hour.
Bye.